Boys and girls, we are going to start a very fascinating topic. Because why fascinating? It will demand a lot of your thought to be provoked and a lot of your mathematical knowledge, a simple knowledge of 2D geometry and simple knowledge of your calculus, particularly the differentiation and integration, which I'm sure all of you have. So let us start. Time to time, if you fail to understand at some point, don't hesitate to ask me to raise your hand so that I can pause and explain you once again. Chemical kinetics tells us how fast or slow a reaction occurs. And it also tells us the rate of reaction at different times. It also tells us the order of reaction. It also tells us how to find the mechanism of the reaction. Mechanism. I'm not talking of organic reaction, I'm talking of inorganic reaction. And hence the molecularity. Of molecularity in each step. That means whether a reaction is elementary or complex, that can be known from the study of the kinetics, as we will see later. And it gives the activation energy. And its temperature dependence. And most importantly, the kinetic rate law. Kinetic rate law. That gives you an idea about everything, about the mechanism, about how the rate changes. If you have completed, then we'll go to the next phase. Okay. Now, let us know what is the rate of reaction. What is the rate of reaction? And if you are a lay person, a beginner, then I will say, supposing a reaction is represented like this. It is an irreversible reaction we are talking of now. We are now taking up an irreversible reaction. R is the reactant and P is the product. We are primarily focused to monitor how the reaction is proceeding from the very start. Obviously, the rate of reaction will decrease. We are talking of the forward reaction. Therefore, I told it is irreversible. We are talking of the forward reaction only. So the rate continuously decreases. That we already know from the law of mass action. The rate is directly proportional to the concentration of the reactants, raised to the power equal to their stoichiometric coefficients. But here, the concept is same, but it is more experimental than theoretical. Now, the rate of reaction decreases, the rate at which the reactant is converted to product, that goes on progressively decreasing. And if we monitor, it decreases in most of the cases in a exponential manner like this. This is a reactant concentration versus time. We can also monitor how the product concentration increases. I repeat, reactant concentration decreases while product concentration increases. But interestingly, the rate of reaction decreases. Well, I say rate, I mean the rate of forward reaction or the rate of the reversible reaction. So before we forget that, let us write down the rate of forward reaction decreases with time. Am I audible to you? Decreases with time, and rate of, not forward reaction, I'm so sorry, with time. That is still okay. Rate of reaction, let us write down rate of reaction, because we have already mentioned. We have mentioned it is irreversible. So there is no question of forward, backward, only forward. The rate of reaction decreases with time. What I wanted to say, the reactant concentration decreases with time, while product concentration increases with time. But obviously, while you are proceeding from left to right, the reactant concentration is progressively decreasing and the product concentration is progressively increasing. So, but the rate of reaction decreases. Although it has been a repetition, doesn't matter, but the rate of reaction decreases. That means if I ask you a question, if you can answer, that means although the product concentration is increasing, but the rate at which it is increasing is decreasing. That means if you get the rate from a slope, we shall be doing that in the graph, that slope progressively decreases. Numerically decreases, whether it is a negative slope, while we monitor the decrease in the concentration of the reactant, it is a negative slope, and while we do the opposite, we monitor the increase in product concentration, the slope is positive, but still then the magnitude of the slope goes on decreasing. That means we want to say that the rate at which product concentration increases, that rate, time rate of increase in the product concentration decreases. Therefore, rate decreases. Rate is nothing but the change in the concentration of either reactant or product at a particular instant. Then let us go back to that graph. If you are a beginner, then I will say we first understand what is average rate, just like average speed and instantaneous speed. The same concept, the average rate of reaction. For that, you have to choose a particular time interval. For example, this time interval you select. A particular time interval you select. This time interval. So this is delta T and this is delta R. So this is rate of average rate of reaction will be equal to delta R by delta T. And just put a minus sign because the rate cannot be negative. Rate is always positive. But since this delta R by delta T, which is tan theta, theta is the positive angle, so its value will be negative. So to make it positive, a minus sign is given when the rate is expressed differentially with respect to reactant. The change in the concentration of the reactant divided by the change in the time, that this time interval you are studying. So that average rate you have to mention between this time to this time. For example, 5 minutes to 5.5 minutes or 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Between that, the average rate was found to be this. Then if you measure between 10 to 15 minutes, its value will be different. It goes on decreasing, right? So you can also, if you draw a graph, supposing someone is monitoring how the product concentration is increasing, someone is not interested in reactant, someone is more interested in product. So he or she is monitoring how the product concentration is varying, then the EUC will get a graph like this, where supposing same time will be taken between 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Here, this value is positive. This is delta P, this is delta T. So plus delta P by delta T. So the average rate during a particular time duration will be represented by del R by del T. When I say R, I mean concentration. Please allow me not to say concentration every time. So del R by del T, that if you express rate in terms of reactant, then you have to put a minus sign. Because del R by del T itself is negative. Tan theta is positive, theta is greater than 90, so it will be negative. So you have to have a minus sign to make the value, ultimate value of rate positive. But interestingly, the two values are same. If you are following the same reaction and you select the same time interval, then whatever numerical value of this ratio you get, same will be the other case. Answer will be same. Therefore, the negative sign is there while you express rate, average rate in terms of a reactant concentration. I think I'm clear. Am I? But you are not interested in this because you are in class 11. You are not interested in average speed or average rate. We are interested in the instantaneous rate. And in the course of our, in the entire course of our journey in chemical kinetics, which is a huge chapter, we will be only talking of instantaneous rate of reaction, not So now write down instantaneous rate. Obviously, I do not like to give you the concept of instantaneous that you know from your calculus chapter where you were talking about the differential coefficient. And supposing you have a particular point, you draw a slope, draw a tangent at that particular point, and theta, supposing this is theta, so this is supposing reactant concentration, this is time, so rate, instantaneous rate is equal to minus dr by dt. I need not have to explain this because this is nothing but delta R by delta T, limit delta T tends to 0. Of course, minus sign is there already. So that is nothing but the differential coefficient of reactant concentration with respect to time. That is again nothing but the slope of the tangent drawn at that particular point where you want to measure the instantaneous rate. So this thing you need not write at all. This concept of instantaneous is already known to you. So instantaneous rate at any particular instant at this particular time, for example, at this particular time, not a time interval, that you first find out experimentally the reactant versus time graph. Then anybody asks you what is the rate at this time, then you draw a tangent at that point and then take the slope of that line, straight line, that tangent, that value will be the instantaneous rate with respect to reactant. Same thing, since it is a negative slope, the slope is negative, therefore another negative sign is there to make the rate positive. Rate cannot be negative. And also, if you want to monitor product concentration, you will get a graph like this, and at any instant, if you want to find the instantaneous rate, then again same thing you have to do. You have to have the rate is equal to plus dp by dt. So the delta, capital delta, this triangle sign is replaced by differential coefficient sign. So write down the slope of the tangent drawn at any point in the concentration, may it be reactant, may it be product. Concentration versus time graph gives the instantaneous rate. The slope of the tangent drawn at any point in the concentration versus time graph gives the instantaneous, I just shortened it. You please write instantaneous rate, right? And you know, interestingly, if you have already written, please listen to me. Give your 101% focus. Interestingly, if you are following the same reaction at the same temperature and at the same time in same instant, then the two values are same. You know, here the magnitude of slope you don't draw, goes on decreasing, isn't it? Because the slope is the rate, instantaneous rate, And progressively with time, the slope decreases, the numerical value decreases. Therefore, rate decreases. Whether or not you are monitoring the reactant. You know, some students, when I asked, I don't like to waste time. I asked some years back to a batch of students that the product concentration is increasing while the reactant concentration is decreasing. So what will happen to the rate of reaction with respect to product? They unanimously said the rate of reaction with respect to product increases and the rate of reaction with respect to reactant decreases. So to avoid any such misconception that we are talking of an irreversible reaction, a unidirectional reaction, where the rate always decreases with time. Whether or not, supposing I am confident I am now in this reaction, it is better for me to monitor the concentration of the reactant at different time intervals experimentally and draw a graph. Or in some other reaction, it is more convenient to handle the product and monitor how it is increasing from time to time. And I have recorded 10 experiments and then I have a graph. Both the graphs are exponential, and whatever may be the graph you find out experimentally, but the rate will definitely decrease with time. You found that even you are monitoring reactant, the slope, magnitude of the slope goes on decreasing. And when you are monitoring product, the magnitude of slope is also decreasing. Right? You understood what I wanted to say? So product concentration is increasing, reactant concentration is increasing, but the rate of reaction is decreasing because the slopes are decreasing, the magnitudes of slope is decreasing. And remember that whenever you are expressing rate, differential expression of rate with respect to reactant, put a minus sign because the slope is itself negative. So put a minus sign. Now, before we go further, I would like to make you travel through these things. I will be giving these materials to you. I'm reading this, which are not important here to write down. Kinetics tells us how fast or slow the reaction can happen. And it will tell us the instantaneous rates at different time, different instants with progress of time. It will also tell us rate constants. Rate constant small k is not the capital K. That is equilibrium constant. And it will tell us the order of reaction, mechanism of reaction, half-life periods. These are very, very important to have an idea about the quality, the type of reaction, whether it is a slow reaction or a fast reaction, dependence of rate constants with temperature, measurement of activation energy, and so many other things. And here I find really interesting to once again compare between kinetics and thermodynamics. While thermodynamics tells us whether a reaction is feasible or not, and also it will tell us to what extent it will proceed. Whether it will be 100%, nearly 100%, or 99.9999%, or 1%, or 50%, that means it will give you the equilibrium constant, Kc or Kp. It will not tell anything about the rate, how fast, how slow it reacts. Kinetics, in turn, will tell us how fast or how slow the reaction will occur. And I will remind you the famous slogan, if thermodynamics says yes, it means what? It may be. While it says no, it means no. Why it may be? Because even if the thermodynamics will predict a very large equilibrium constant, and you'll be very happy that the reaction will be nearly complete, but it will not happen because at that particular temperature, the reaction is so slow. I have written that kinetics can predict that a reaction can be so slow that virtually reaction doesn't happen, even though it has a high equilibrium constant as predicted by thermodynamics. And kinetics involves the study of only the head portion of a reaction. And if you are a very impatient person, then you can monitor the reaction for 20 minutes. Nowadays, you know, spectrophotometers are available to monitor the concentration of the reactant or product spectrophotometrically. So 10 minutes is enough to find out the quality, the order, everything, all information is enough. But in the laboratory, we ask the students to perform at least 10 experiments, spending about a minimum of 1 hour. Every 20 minutes, they will have to remove one reaction vessel and then quench it. Quench it means to put it in ice bath so that the rate becomes extremely slowed down, and quickly we have to take the help of volumetric titration to measure what amount of the reactant is left out. So often in the laboratory, students take up the volumetric method, the titration method, to find out what is the remaining reactant or what is the product formed. Accordingly, they select the other complementary reactant in the burette to immediately finish the titration. And that has to be quenched. Even if it is quenched, you cannot eliminate the possibility of the complete stoppage of the reaction. You have to be very, very smart to finish this estimation very quickly. But still, it is not a good method. It's a crude method. The onset of spectrophotometer has eased the process of monitoring the reaction. So why I wanted to impress upon you is that kinetics only deals with the head portion of the reaction. Just a few minutes, few hours, that will be enough. Take at least 10 measurements to have a good graph. If you take 3 to 4 measurements, then the 3 points, how to smooth the graph. How to smooth the graph and whether it will go this way, that way. So more the number of experiments you do, the better will be the graph and better will be your analysis. But if you are in thermodynamics, it has to wait. It has to dose until equilibrium reaches. Then he will measure the equilibrium concentrations. Then numerator by denominator find Kc. So it is a very, very, subject of patience. But kinetics, just few minutes. Nowadays, only few minutes are being devoted by the attachment of spectrometer to monitor a particular reactant, how the concentration is decreasing with time, or a particular product, how it is increasing with time. Now, have a look. Have a look. Kinetics deals with this portion, the activation energy. But thermodynamics deals with this portion. Mind you, this is G. That means H and entropy taken together. This is not enthalpy, it is change. This is the free energy axis and this is the time axis. So delta G negative means it is a feasible process. If graph would have been stopped here, then it is an infeasible process. So these delta G, the lower part, that talks about thermodynamics, but this part talks about kinetics. If this hill is very, very high, then it is a very slow reaction. Many more molecules cannot traverse through this hill, mountain, very fast, so it will be a slow reaction. If it is a very small hill with a very small height, then the reaction will be very, very fast. So that's the huge difference between thermodynamics and kinetics. Now, already I have told you that rate of reaction can be average with respect to a particular time interval, and that we are not interested now at this class 11 stage, but we are interested in this where we have instantaneous rate is minus dr by dt or plus dp by dt. And just now you write down the unit of rate. Yes, start writing. I have not written that. Unit of this line you write. Write down, Mr. Sadangi. Are you listening to me, Mr. Sadangi? So write down rate of reaction. A rate of, so unit of rate. I'm sorry. The unit of rate is always same, fixed. That is, rate is equal to minus dr by dt or plus dp by dt. So that is the unit of concentration by unit of time. That is, concentration is molarity and time is time inverse. This is the general unit. Capital M is molarity, moles per liter. Or you can be very specific, writing moles per liter per second or moles per liter per minute or moles per liter per hour, whatever it may be. But usually it is very smartly written as M second inverse. M means moles per liter. Capital M means moles per liter. M, capital M, second inverse. So that is the unit of rate. Over? Yes. Now I would like to show you here. Now have a look. I have already given you the dictation. The rate of reaction is always positive, while the mathematical expression of rate is negative when expressed with respect to reactant concentration. The negative slope and the negative sign, that makes the rate positive. The instantaneous rate is same for a particular reaction at a particular instant, whether analyzed from reactant versus time graph or product versus time graph. The slope numerical value is same. And the same graph that we had done while I was doing here. If you are interested for a time interval, then that will give you what? This delta t, delta r by delta t, that will give you the average rate. But if you take the limit, delta t tends to 0, that will give you the instantaneous rate, and that is nothing but the slope of the tangent drawn at a particular point. That is already told to you. Now, this is very interesting. Now have a look. Have a look and try to understand. Try to understand, then you will write. See, you see this reaction, nitrogen and hydrogen giving you ammonia. Are you listening to me? You don't look to this big equation. Look to this equation, nitrogen reacting with hydrogen giving ammonia. So, when your reaction coefficients are not uniform, they are not same, then the rates with respect to each individual species will not be same. For example, the rate at which nitrogen is disappearing with time will be 1/3 of the rate at which hydrogen is disappearing. While 3 hydrogen molecules die, only 1 nitrogen molecules die. So the rate of the disappearance of hydrogen is 3 times greater than the rate of disappearance of nitrogen. Similarly, if you compare with the rate of formation of ammonia, because I have told you the rate can be expressed either in terms of reactant disappearance or in terms of product formation. If it is disappearance, you put a minus sign. And if it is appearance, you put a positive sign, right? So the rate at which ammonia is formed is twice that of the rate at which nitrogen is disappearing. And it will be, you know, 2/3 of the rate at which hydrogen is disappearing. Therefore, in order to make the rate expression uniform with respect to all reactants and products, this is the method. With respect, if it is reactant, put a minus sign, dA by dt, and put the coefficient as 1 by A. This is 1b. Small letters are taken as coefficients and capital letters are taken as the reactants and products. So the moment you find a balanced equation, you prepare a rate expression for the balanced equation. So with respect to reactant, minus sign, dA by dt, and whatever is the coefficient, 1 or 2, whatever, you make it reciprocal, I mean 1 by A. Here B, 1 by B. Here C, 1 by C. Here D, 1 by D. But put a plus sign if it is in the terms of product, put a minus sign in this terms of the reactant. Same thing happens here. Now see here, nitrogen, the coefficient is 1, so 1 by 1, nothing. And 3, 1 by 3. That means the rate of disappearance of nitrogen is 1/3 the rate of disappearance of hydrogen. And the rate of disappearance of nitrogen is half of the rate of formation of ammonia. So once you prepare this correlation equation, then in the question, if you are given any rate, absolute rate of any with respect to any species, then you can find out what is the absolute rate of the reaction with respect to any other species. Just to write down. I'm giving you a 1 minute time to write down whatever I have written in this particular page. Now, I'm giving you this question to answer. This is a reaction which has started for manganate, 8H plus 5 ferrous. Just listen to me. Gives you Mn2 plus 5 Fe3 plus 4 water. This is a balanced equation. And what is given? The rate of disappearance of ferrous ion with respect to time. The instantaneous rate of disappearance of ferrous ion with respect to time, since it is a reactant, minus sign is there. Is this 2 into 10 to the minus 5 moles per liter per second, or capital M per second. Then find what is minus dH plus by dt, what is the disappearance of hydrogen ion with respect to time, and what is the formation of manganese ion with respect to time. Can you not find out? You have to just build up the rate expression from the balanced equation, taking the coefficient as a reciprocal of 1 by that. After you set the equation, the correlation between the different species, then if one is given, the other one can be found out by crisscrossing the coefficients. I give you 1 minute time to answer this. Now have a look to the answer. What I did, I developed an equation which I need involving H plus ion, Fe2 plus and Mn2 plus. Ignoring the other one, Fe3 plus, water, they are not required in this particular question. So I develop with respect to H plus, it is 1 by 8. So this coefficient will come to the denominator, and minus sign will be there only to indicate it is disappearance reactant. So minus 1 by 8 dH plus by dt is equal to minus 1 by 5, because the coefficient of ferrous is 5, into dFe2 plus by dt is equal to plus the coefficient of manganese is 1. So there is nothing here, dMn2 plus by dt. So once I establish this relationship, then I have to find, because this is given, dFe2 plus by dt is given, this one is given. So then minus dH plus by dt is equal to, you know, this relationship, this 8 will crisscross, 8 will go here, and 5 is already there. So 8 by 5, this, right? So since this is given, this is minus, you know, this minus is given, that means this is minus. So minus minus plus. You understand? Because minus this means this is minus this. So if you put this, already minus sign is there. So the rate can never be negative. The final answer on the right side will always be positive. So 8 by 5 into that, whatever was given, whatever value, I don't bother. Now what about dmn2 plus by dt? So dmn2 plus by dt is simply 1 by 5, simply 1 by 5. So since dap2 plus by dt is equal to minus of this, so minus minus again plus, so 1 by 5 is already there, there is no coefficient here, no crisscross, so it will be 1/5 of this. How many of you have done correctly? So this type of question you are likely to get in your examination. So giving a balance equation, and you have to find out the rate with respect to one species if the rate with respect to other species is given. Never bother about the minus sign. The minus sign will automatically, if you have some confusion about minus sign, you just don't bother about minus sign. Minus is there only to indicate the reactant is disappearing, nothing else. Then we proceed. I have already told you, you need not write, just lend your ears, patient ears to me. You can write down at your home from the handout that I shall give you today after I make my video public, and I will give you this thing. You will study. How experimentally we determine the rate. That I have already told you that you have to make a graph. You have to make a graph. You have to make a graph. Either the reactant or product concentrations are measured at different time intervals. Don't write anything. Just gauge your eyes on where I am indicating in my pointer, in my mouse. Now, either the reactant or the product concentrations are measured at different time intervals while a reaction is going on. After making proper quenching, I told you to stop the reaction. In reality, reaction will never stop. Even at 0 degrees Celsius, there will be some reaction going on. Therefore, we ask the students to quickly titrate and find out what is the reactant left out after 5 minutes, left out after 10 minutes, and so on. So what they do, they take 10 test tubes, right? 10 test tubes, add equal amount of the first reactant, then equal amount of the second reactant. Then together at one time, they put it in a particular temperature, in a thermostatic bath, setting the temperature at particular value. Then they are asked to take one of them at 10 minutes and quickly quench it, put it under ice bath or a dry ice. The temperature is much lower than 0 degree, dry ice. You quench it, and during quenching, you titrate. Use the burette, make your burette completely filled, and add an indicator. Just titrate quickly and take the reading. Then another fellow will be ready to pick up one test tube from that thermostat after 20 minutes. So every 10 minutes, we take up one test tube and measure. Maybe someone will be monitoring the product if it is convenient. Maybe in some reactions, we monitor the reactant. It is up to us, depending on the convenience of measurement. This measurement can involve volumetric titration method or collection of gaseous component. If one of the products is a gas, then it is measured, it is collected. It is collected and the volume measured from time to time. More the number of experiments done, it is better. The result is better. At least 10 experiments, 10 measurements at different times from the start, from the beginning, will produce a good graph. I told you today, nobody uses this primitive method. A spectrophotometer is attached to the reaction mixture to monitor. Even within 2 minutes, it will give you accurate data. So hundreds of data can be generated spectrophotometrically, and the concentration versus time graph is so very reliable and dependent. So it is beyond any apprehension or question mark. Then a graph of reactant concentration or product concentration versus time is drawn manually. People draw. Now they can use the Excel file to smooth the graph. The slope of the tangent at any point of the graph gives the rate at that particular instant. Are you listening to me carefully? We have already discussed that. And the important thing that I have already told you, the reactant concentration decreases while product concentration increases with time. However, the rate of reaction decreases with time in case of irreversible reaction. The numerical value of the slope in two graphs, whether it is R versus T or P versus T, they are same at a particular instant for a given reaction at the same conditions. In other words, the rate of change of R and the rate of change of P with respect to time decreases. Although product concentration increases, but the rate at which the product concentration increases, that decreases, right? Okay, then I will take up my thing to go to another aspect, that is order of reaction. Write down. Now write down, before I show you the prepared PowerPoint slides, I would like you to write what I'm writing. What is order of a reaction? Let us define. No, better you write down. There is no point in wasting time. The first highlighted point. It is the power of the concentration of the reactant. I repeat, reactant, not the product. A rate can be measured either from a reactant or from the product concentration with respect to time. But an order is determined from the reactant concentration, and the power, the exponent of the reactant concentration, that is nothing but order of the reaction. It is the power of the concentration of the reactant or the sum of the powers of the concentrations of the reactants which appear in the observed rate law. I'll tell you what is rate law. Don't worry about it. Just write down. That's what I need. Only that part. Nothing more than that. Then listen to me. It is the definition. When you are asked in your examination, you will write this. It is the power of the concentration of the reactant or the sum of the powers of the concentrations of the reactants which appear in the observed rate law, or you can also write rate equation, same as rate equation. Rate equation is same as rate law. Now listen to me, what I am reading out. In other words, the rate of reaction is directly proportional to the product of the concentrations of the reactants raised to the power, raised to some power. That's some power. That's some power which may or may not be same as stoichiometric coefficients. Now compare with law of mass action that we studied for thermodynamics, that is chemical equilibrium, where it was defined the rate is proportional to the concentration of the reactant to the power, the stoichiometric coefficient. That was the set principle accepted by scientists to find out Kc throughout the world. But here it is the experimentally determined power to which power of the reactant concentration rate at any time is varying or is dependent upon. So therefore, this power may or may not be equal to the stoichiometric coefficients. By chance it may, in some cases coincidentally, yes, particularly for elementary reactions. I'll tell you, as we travel in this journey, we will be unraveling several mysteries of chemical kinetics. But in most cases, you find that the stoichiometric coefficient is different from the power that we experimentally find in the study of kinetics, which may or may not be same as stoichiometric coefficients in balanced equation, and which is determined experimentally. This power is called the order of reaction with respect to that particular reactant. And the overall order, if there are more than one reactant, is the sum of all the individual orders. Now see, you have to write this page. Listen to me first. First, listen to me. If you go away from your focus, then you will miss. If you remain focused, I can assure you, you will not miss a single point. Supposing the reaction is represented by this, small a, small b are coefficients in the balanced equation, a and b are the reactants. For getting order, we do not bother about the products. To find the value of rate, yes, either we can monitor the reactant or the product. But to know the order, products are unimportant. Particularly, we are doing for simple reactions. But later on, we shall find products are also important in deriving the rate law. Just hold on for a moment. Hold your breath until the complex reactions they come, and we find the rate law taking product into our consideration. Now let us ignore product. So rate at any time is directly proportional to some power that is not equal to A. Deliberately I have not written A. Had it been chemical equilibrium chapter, thermodynamics, to find Kc, Kp, I would have definitely written A and B here. But I have knowingly I'm writing M and N to say that M and N are different, may be different from A and B. Maybe by chance they may be same. So this M and is equal to a proportionality constant small k, not capital K, small k. This is called the rate law. This is called the rate law or the rate equation or rate expression. K is called the rate constant, which is a constant for a given reaction at a particular temperature. M and N are called the orders of reaction with respect to A and B respectively. That means the order of reaction is M with respect to A and N with respect to B, and the overall order of the reaction is M plus N, right? The unit of K, the unit of rate constant, it varies from order to order. In every order we shall be, in the next lecture, we'll be talking of first order. Then in the next lecture, second, zero order. The order can be zero, can be negative, can be fractional. That's the beauty. It hardly matches with the stoichiometric coefficient, which are always whole numbers. But order can be zero, it can be. It's very hard to believe now how the order can be zero. What is the concept behind it? What is the idea behind it? We shall be knowing that in details. And I'm sure while I will be discussing a particular type of reaction order, particular order, I'll be trying to dive deep into your brains and try to infuse the concept. Right? You write down. I'm giving you 1 minute time to write down this piece. Now, M and N may be different from, listen to me, M and N may be different from the stoichiometric coefficients in the balanced equation. Maybe. It may not be also. The order of reactions are determined experimentally. For determining equilibrium constant, please listen to me. For determining equilibrium constant, capital Kp or capital Kc, the stoichiometric coefficients are used as powers for the rate expression defined by law of mass action. But here it is not the same. But in actual rate law, in chemical kinetics, the orders are determined often are different from stoichiometric coefficients because they're experimentally measured, not by any definition. It is not being determined, but by experiment from the graph of concentration versus time, rate is determined, and from the rate the order is determined. I'll tell you how the order is determined after a bit. The rate is related to reactant concentrations only, not the product concentration, not for elementary reactions. For simple reactions, we only take the reactant concentration to find the order. What is order? The power of the reactant concentration is the order, right? Now, I'll tell you how the order with respect to a particular reactant is determined. Just listen to me very, very carefully, mindfully listen to me. Supposing this is the thing. A is the coefficient and there is no second reactant. Even if there is a second reactant, we will deliberately make the concentration of B fixed. As much B is repleting, is going out, same amount of B will be filling up. So the B concentration we will be keeping constant and allow A to decrease in its own style, in its own way to find the order. So in that case, what happens if rate is equal to some constant K, rate constant K into A to the power N, we want to determine this N, which is different from A, may be different from A. And what is A? This is nothing but AT. What is AT? If A0, small a subscript 0, is the concentration of the reactant at time t is equal to 0, and AT is the concentration of the same reactant at time t is equal to t, then, and AT is also equal to A0 minus X. What is X? X is the product concentration at time t. So if product concentration is small x, A0 is the initial concentration, then A0 minus X is nothing but the concentration of reactant at time t, AT. So here we take AT. Because AT is progressively decreasing with time. So this A, we write small at. The time, this T is the time, at the concentration at this time. At any time, T, AT to the power N. Now see, we know the expression, the mathematical differential expression of rate is minus dA by dt. That means minus, in place of A, we write A0 minus X, AT is nothing but equal to A0 minus X. So since A0 is constant, so minus minus plus, so that becomes dx by dt. So that is the differential coefficient of product concentration with respect to time. So either minus dA by dt, and if we differentiate it, A0 is a constant, that becomes 0, and minus minus becomes plus, so dx by dt. So now you know another mathematical expression for rate, that is dx by dt. What is X? X is the product concentration, right? So rate is nothing but mathematically dx by dt is equal to AT to the power N. AT is nothing but A0 minus X. AT to the power N, N is the order. Rate is equal to K into AT to the power N. R is the rate whose mathematical expression is dx by dt now, and K is the rate constant, AT to the power N. And if you operate log to the base 10 on either side, it will be log R, that means log dx by dt is equal to log K plus N log AT. So you consider this as y is equal to mx plus c. Y is equal to mx plus c. This is the y coordinate. This is the x coordinate, this is the x coordinate, and hence this is the slope, this is the x coordinate, and this is the slope, and this is the intercept. Right? So if we correlate this equation with y is equal to mx plus c, we get a straight line when we plot log r with respect to log at. R we can know because we previously know how to measure the rate at different time instants by drawing a graph of R concentration, capital R, reactant concentration with time. I was narrating how students quickly carry out the volumetric titration experiment, or the graph of product concentration versus time. From that graph, at any 10 points, you draw the tangents and find the slopes. Those are the instantaneous rates at say 10 instantaneous times. So take the log of those 10 values and the corresponding AT, the reactant concentration. Draw a graph between log R and log AT. Obviously, it will be a straight line, and the slope you will get, just have a look here. I have drawn a graph of log R, log rate. R means dx by dt. Log R versus log AT. This is the y coordinate, this is the x coordinate, and obviously the slope is nothing but the order. The order of the reaction is nothing but n. The slope of the straight line in the log R versus log AT graph gives the order of reaction with respect to a particular reactant. With respect to a particular reactant, I again tell you, Khan Saab, that if there are more than one reactant, you have to keep the other reactant concentration fixed deliberately by doing such mechanism as to replenish the amount of the other reactant being depleted out. You have to make the concentration fixed at every instant and allow one reactant to decrease in its own way. And we monitor the order with respect to that reactant. And if the turn for the other reactant comes, then you keep A constant and measure the order with respect to B and so on. This is the way. Just write down. I'm giving you a 2 minutes time. Write down that. Now, see, this intercept also gives you a knowledge about K. The anti-log of this intercept will give you the rate constant. The slope of this line will give you the order with respect to that reactant. So in this way, the order of a reaction is determined. First, the rates at different intervals, minimum 10 different rates are taken, and it's log R. Then the corresponding AT, reactant concentration, its corresponding log AT. Then draw a graph between log R and log AT. You will definitely get a straight line, and the slope of that straight line will give you the order. There are other methods also. We shall be taking off other methods to find the order of reaction. This is one of the methods. Now the second lecture, you just listen to me. This is first order kinetics. Today, I thought to complete first order kinetics, maybe if it is not possible, I can explain this to some extent, and tomorrow we will have the remaining part and we shall write. Now see, if it is a first order reaction, then definitely rate, that is dx by dt, is equal to rate constant K into AT to the power 1. This power is 1, therefore it is first order. Reactant concentration to the power 1. That means dx by dt is equal to K into A0 minus X, or AT. We can also say dx by dt is equal to K into AT to the power 1. So this is called the differential rate law. Don't write anything. We can't finish. You will understand today. We can't finish. This is called the differential law. But differential equation, rate equation, hardly gives any good information about the reaction. The integrated rate law will give you a lot of ready-made, handy information about the reaction. We'll be doing that integration and convert the differential equation into integrated equation. Now, what is the unit of K? Now for the first order reaction, K is equal to R by concentration to the power 1 means concentration. So rate is always moles per liter per time, always for every order, and only one concentration is there, moles per liter. So molarity get cancelled. Only we are left with time inverse, either second inverse or minute inverse or hour inverse or year inverse. So we can have in any time inverse is the the unit of rate constant for the first order reaction, right? Are you listening to me? So now see, because you are so very familiar with integration, this is a very rudimentary level 1 integration. You can understand very easily. Although some of you might say that we have not yet studied integration in our mathematics courses, but never mind. I will tell you the rule, the formula. Just a formula you have to apply and find the values. Now, integrated first order rate equation, let us derive. Now minus dA by dt, this is the rate expression, is equal to K a to the power 1. So this already we know, minus d a0 minus x by dt. So a0 is a constant, so that becomes dx by dt. Instead of writing this, there is no need of writing this. Simply dx by dt. We already know all this. Rate means dx by dt is equal to K into reactant concentration, that is 80. This is also 80 to the power 1. We write deliberately x. And then what we do here, bring a0 minus x to the denominator of left side and dt to the right side. So dx by a0 minus x is equal to k dt. Now let us integrate both the sides, this side and this side. An integration, just those who have not studied integration, integration 1 by x dx is equal to ln x. Integration 1 by x dx is equal to ln x. That's it. And since there is a minus sign, therefore minus sign is coming. So the value of this is minus ln a0 minus x is equal to K is a constant, will come outside, and integration and d, they will kill each other. So only t will remain plus integration constant C0. This is the integration constant. And to find integration constant, have a look. When t is equal to 0, at the beginning of the reaction, there is no product, x is equal to 0. And if x is equal to 0, then if t is equal to 0, x is equal to 0, then C, this log or ln of any constant quantity is 0. So C0 is also equal to 0. The log of any constant quantity, is 0 to the base C0. I'm sorry, C0 is, I'm so sorry, here I will make a correction. I'm so sorry. C0 will be minus ln A0. I'm so sorry. Minus ln A0. Differentiation of a constant quantity is 0. But C0, since here you find when t is equal to 0, this term vanishes. X is equal to 0, this term vanishes. But A0 remains. So C0, the integration constant, is nothing but minus ln A0. I'm so sorry. Then substituting the value of C0, it is minus ln A0 is equal to KT plus C. C, in place of C, we write the integration constant minus ln A0. Then bringing to one side, taking KT to the other side, KT is equal to ln A0 minus ln A0 minus X. And then ln A0 minus ln A0 minus X is nothing but equal to ln A0 divided by A0 minus X. So bringing t to the other side and keeping k in the left side, we have a handy integrated rate equation or rate law, integrated rate law. K is equal to the rate constant for a first order reaction is equal to 1 by t ln A0 is the initial concentration of the reactant, and this is A0 minus X is nothing but AT. So this is very popular. Instead of writing A0 minus X, we can write AT. And to convert ln into log, we have to multiply. If to the base 10 if you bring, then you have to multiply a factor 2.303. So this is the equation that you will be using often to find the different parameters. If K is given, you find T. If T is given, at what time? Say after 20 minutes, what will be the reactant concentration AT? If the initial concentration is given, K is given. So you will be using this integrated equation in all your chemical calculation involving first order reaction. Now see, there are other expressions. First order kinetics has other expressions. It's not integrated equation. Integrated equation is already done, but this is exponential equation. So you bring that integrated equation. Now since the base is E, and if you bring T to the other side, it will be KT, and this ln A0 by AT is equal to KT. So A0 by AT is equal to E to the power KT. And then if you reverse it, A0 by AT is E to the KT. If you reverse it, AT by A0 is equal to E to the power minus KT. So AT is equal to the reactant concentration at any time T is equal to initial concentration into E to the power minus KT. This is another expression for first order kinetics. Hardly we use this expression for solving problems, but this will be used in other places. Another expression, that in place of A0 and AT, we can write R0 by RT, the initial rate by final rate, because the rate is proportional to the concentration. Therefore, the ratio, when it is a ratio, instead of writing A0 by AT, we can write R0 by RT. That is another first order integrated law. And if you supposing you are dosing at the time when the reaction started, at that time 6 o'clock morning you are dosing, you could not note what is the initial concentration before you added the second reactant to start the first reactant which you are monitoring. You could not measure initially what was there. Doesn't matter. After 5 minutes you woke up from your slumber and then determine what is the concentration at 5 minutes. So this is 81 and this is 82 after 10 minutes. So then instead of writing T, we write T2 minus T1. So 10 minutes minus 5 minutes. So the difference between the two time instants. So the difference is 5 minutes. So you can do that even if you do not know the initial concentration. You have started measuring at 5th minute, then that is your starting point. Then 10th minute, 20th minute, you can find out, and this expression can be used. And this is the most handy expression, is you can convert this. You are wizard in mathematics. This can be converted to this. AT is equal to A0 half to the power T by T.5. Today, I'm sorry, I was a little greedy to plan that I could be able to explain what is half-life period and how to determine that and the implications of that. It's not possible to explain half-life period. So this is another way of expressing first order reaction. AT is equal to A0 half to the power T by T.5 or T half. Half-life period is just the time needed for a reactant concentration to reduce to half of its initial value. Supposing you have taken 10 molar to become 5 molar, what is the time? And if you have taken 5 molar to become 2.5, what is the time needed? And if you have taken 1 molar to become 0.5 molar, what is the time? So the time required for a reactant concentration, the initial reactant concentration, to reduce to half of its original value or the initial value, that is called half-life period. So, you know, this was the expression we derived in terms of log to the base 10, right? And if you split the log, it will be like this. T is equal to 2.303 by K log A0, this is a constant, minus 2.303 by K log AT. So if you, we'll be doing a lot of graphs here. We'll be doing tomorrow, I think tomorrow, we'll be doing a lot of graphs. I'll be telling you to draw this graph. I'll tell you the equation and I'll ask you to draw the graph. You'll see how skilled you are in 2D geometry. And here this is the y coordinate and this is the x coordinate. And if you draw a graph between t in the y-axis and log AT in the x-axis, you'll get, since this is a negative slope, you will be getting a graph like this because the slope is negative and the slope will be equal to minus 2.303 by K, from which you can find out the rate constant, and the intercept will be giving you this 2.303 by K log A0. A0 is the initial concentration. So boys and girls, I think, and those who are watching me will be watching me in this video. We'll be doing half-life period very soon tomorrow. And until that time, bye-bye.